It was a Thursday night when I got the message. Fall in Portland is usually cold and damp, and it had just finished raining. I was sitting alone in the kitchen with a mug of coffee that had gone completely cold, my phone resting on the table. The screen lit up in silence. The message was from Lena, my wife. It was a wedding photo. She was wearing a white dress, standing next to a man I'd never seen before. They were both smiling, bright and wide, and behind them was a small sign from some chapel in Las Vegas. Beneath the photo, just a short line of text. Just married. Thanks for the quiet week. I stared at the screen for a long time. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't even hurt. I just sat there, feeling like someone had quietly sucked all the air out of the room. I turned the phone face down, then looked through the small window that opened to the backyard. The grass was soaked, and the porch light cast a faint beam across the wooden deck. I didn't call her. Didn't reply. Didn't smash the mug in my hand, though I remember gripping it a little tighter than usual. I just stood up, set it in the sink, and went upstairs. One thought echoing in my head. Well, I guess that's that. My name is Ethan. I'm 38, a systems analyst at a tech company in Portland. I'm not the kind of person who shares much about his personal life online. But there are things that, if you don't let them out, they stay stuck in your head until it's hard to breathe. I met Lena at a conference in San Francisco. I was 30, she was 27. We ended up sitting next to each other during a group session. She worked in marketing for a startup, sharp, quick-witted, the kind of person who squints her eyes a little when she laughs. Me? I was quiet, reserved, a bit dry. But somehow, something clicked between us at just the right time. What followed were weeks of texting, long calls, weekend visits. When Lena moved to Portland, we started dating seriously. A year later, I proposed. I figured, when you find someone who makes you want to come home every day, you don't wait. The first few years of marriage were calm, not thrilling, but warm. We both worked full-time, cooked dinner together late at night, did grocery runs on weekends, argued over things like which couch to buy or what color to paint the walls. It was the kind of quiet happiness I thought was solid. Around our third anniversary, we started talking about having a kid. Not because anyone pushed us. Just one morning, Lena rolled over, rested her hand on my chest, and said something like, "Wouldn't it be nice to hear a baby in the house?" So we tried. Like most couples, hopeful at first. Tracking cycles, reading articles about sleep and nutrition, sending each other links and reminders. Every month was a swing between hope and disappointment. Then came doctor visits, then switching doctors. Some months we saw 2 specialists just to get a second opinion. The answer finally came from a small hospital in East Portland. Nothing serious, the doctor said. Lena just had a few markers that made conception harder than average. Not infertile, just not easy. And it might take time. That afternoon, we didn't go straight home. I just drove around, winding through tree-lined streets as summer quietly gave way to fall. We ended up parked near the Willamette River, sitting in silence. Lena stared at the ultrasound paper like it might change if she looked long enough. I didn't know what to say. I just reached for her hand. She didn't pull away, but she didn't squeeze back either. That night, we ate dinner late. I made some spaghetti. She sliced cucumbers. No music, no TV. Just the clinking of dishes and the soft yellow light over the stove. No tears, no angry words. No "why us?" questions. It all unfolded in that quiet way you only notice later, like something had started to crack, just a little. We tried to comfort each other with lines like, "It's okay, as long as we're still us." And I think she meant it. I wanted to mean it too. But the silence after those words grew longer each time. Lena started filling her time with other things. Her third yoga class of the week, baking workshops, a volunteer group I could never remember the full name of. She was busy, but still kind. Still folded my shirts. Still made my coffee in the morning. As for me, I buried myself in work. Picked up freelance projects. Stayed up late. Some weeks I didn't even see her in the morning. We mostly crossed paths on weekends. The affection faded. The intimacy. The urge to even reach for each other. It all dulled down. We didn't fall apart in one night. There was no big explosion. We still had dinner together, still asked, "How was your day?" Still said goodnight before switching off the lights. But sometimes I'd lie in bed with my back to her, listening to the hum of the AC, and realize I couldn't remember the last time we shared anything real. By the time I got used to talking to myself during dinner, we were 5 years into our marriage. I don't remember exactly when it all started. Maybe it was when Lena switched jobs. She landed a position at a bigger agency, higher up the ladder with a slightly better salary. I remember being genuinely happy for her. We went out to dinner to celebrate. She laughed a lot that night. The red wine and warm lighting made her glow, like the driven, ambitious version of herself I'd always known. After that, her routine started changing. She stopped coming home on time. At first, it was just a few late meetings. Then came the endless team-building events that ran late into the night. Even weekends started turning into retreats, trips that, in her words, were meant for team bonding and recharging. One night, she told me the company was organizing a 3-day workshop in Bend, a small town a few hours from Portland. I nodded and asked vaguely where it was and how many people were going. She just said, "I'm not really sure. The organizers are handling everything." I work in an office too. I know what kinds of events actually require travel and what kinds are just excuses. No retreat lasts 5 days straight. No companies paying for hotels, flights, and meals for an entire team just to boost morale for nearly a week. But I didn't say anything. Partly because I didn't want to fight, and partly because, I guess, I wasn't ready to face the truth. I tried to make up for it in my own way. I thought maybe if Lena was just tired, maybe if the stress of talking about kids was weighing on her, I could carry more of the load. I started covering all our living expenses. I canceled a few side gigs to be home more. I took over the things she used to handle, paying the electric bill, taking the car in, buying groceries. I thought, if I did well enough, maybe things would go back to how they were, and for a little while, I actually thought they were. Lena started coming home earlier again. We began having dinner together more often. One night, she even cooked my favorite dish, the one she used to say took too much time. I remember watching her slice onions, set the table, and ask if I wanted another glass of wine. That familiar feeling, the one I thought was gone, came back in that quiet, simple evening. But then, it faded, and this time, faster than before. One day, while I was digging through our shared desk drawer looking for tax papers, I found a stack of receipts neatly tucked into an envelope. Most of them were standard work stuff, plane tickets, taxi slips, meal reimbursements. But one hotel bill made me pause. The hotel was in Spokane, a small town nearly 5 hours from Seattle. What caught me off guard wasn't the place. It was the date. I remembered that night. It had poured rain. She texted me around 10 p.m. saying the workshop ran late and she and a few teammates decided to stay at a hotel so they could head out early the next morning. I even replied, "Sleep well. Don't forget to bundle up." I looked at the receipt again. 1 room, 1 guest. No note saying it was booked through the company. No mention of anyone else. I folded the paper back up, put it right where I found it. Didn't dig any deeper. Didn't say a word. I didn't think Lena was cheating. At least not back then. I just didn't get why she had to lie. Because if it really was just a late night, a rainy drive, a few colleagues, why tell a different story? She didn't even have to be that good at lying. Just good enough to know I wouldn't push. And somehow, that, more than any confession, left me feeling more hollow than anything else ever could. She started sleeping on the couch every time we had a disagreement, even over little things like forgetting to take out the trash or not closing the garage door. I didn't stop her. I didn't ask her to come back either. Some things, when you bring them up, only make the distance more obvious. Over time, the house quietly split into 2 spaces. One side was mine, with dinners for one, late nights spent working, and podcasts that didn't need laughter in the background. The other side was Lena's, with hushed phone calls she always stepped outside to take, weekends that never seemed to have a clear plan, and answers that kept getting shorter and shorter. What really kills a marriage is when you look at the person you love and can't see any trace of yourself in their eyes anymore. And that's when I started to realize I was in a marriage where only one of us was still trying to hold on. After that, I started paying closer attention. Every time Lena said she was going on a work trip, a conference, a retreat, some kind of team-building event, I opened a private Google sheet. I'd write down the departure and return dates where she said she was going and the name of the company hosting it, if she happened to mention it. I even marked the nights she didn't come home and the reasons she gave. At first, it was just curiosity, but slowly, that spreadsheet stopped feeling like a habit. It became something else, a place to keep track of the parts of her life I was no longer invited into. There weren't any accusations. I just wanted to see if the inconsistencies started repeating. And strangely enough, the more I wrote down, the more I started seeing the cracks form. I have an old friend, Mark. We used to work together at my old job. Now he works in cybersecurity. His focus is internal monitoring and system control. I didn't tell him everything. Just said I wanted to check a few hotel check-in confirmations from Lena's work email. I wasn't asking for passwords or anything shady. Just wanted to know if there was a way to track third-party booking confirmations through a business email. Mark understood right away. He didn't ask questions. Just sent me a simple script that would filter out booking confirmations from auto-forwarded emails. That script? That's how I found a few hotel reservations Lena made before her supposed company retreat in Vegas. One of them was for a 2-person stay in Palm Springs, dated 2 months earlier. Another was an appointment confirmation at Whitestone Jewelers on the Vegas Strip to try on rings. I didn't confront her. I just saved it all, along with printed statements from our joint bank account, transactions she never once mentioned in any story she told me. And as for Vegas, I already knew, a week before she left. She still said it was for a company team-building trip 6 days long. But the flight was business class. The itinerary was vague. Too vague. 3 days before Lena flew to Vegas, I found a flyer tucked between some papers on the dining table. It was a pale lavender color, with a coffee stain on the corner. The title was printed in bold caps: Annual Wedding Expo, where couples begin their journey. Below were rows of logos: photographers, dress designers, bakeries, full-service wedding planners. Location: Las Vegas Convention Center. Date: exactly the same week Lena said she'd be at her team-building retreat. I held the flyer and stared at the small print at the bottom. Free entry for registered couples. There was nothing technically wrong with that, except she had never once mentioned a wedding. Not to me. I put the flyer back where I found it, like I'd never seen it. That night, while checking through our shared account's supplementary card transactions, I saw something strange. A charge from Whitestone Jewelers. Vegas Strip. Same place she had the ring fitting appointment. Total, $8,200. Item, wedding ring set, platinum 950, custom engraving, L&B, forever. I sat there in the dark of my office, lit only by the glow of the screen. My body felt dry. My heart didn't race. There was just a slow, heavy feeling building in my chest. One I knew well by now. The feeling of being cut out of a story you thought you were living in. I took a screenshot, saved it in a private folder. I wasn't planning a confrontation. I was preparing for clarity. Lena told me this retreat would be longer than usual. The company wants to do a cross-regional team building, she said with a soft smile. Told me not to worry, that it would pass quickly. She needed the time away to recharge, to find new inspiration. I nodded, watched her pack her suitcase, a white dress folded neatly beneath a jacket. I didn't ask any questions, because I knew this would be the last time I had to play the role of the unsuspecting husband. The 3 days she was gone, part of me hoped for a message, because I knew one was coming, eventually. I had even asked myself what day they might choose. People sneaking around like that, booking rings, trying on dresses, making up business trips. They usually don't wait long. It's always a quick wedding. Some little Vegas chapel, the kind they call romantic chaos. And it came. My phone lit up. The screen said, "Darling." I stared at it for a long time, took a deep breath, and opened the message. One photo. Lena standing in front of a small chapel in Vegas, wearing a simple wedding dress, soft curls in her hair, holding hands with a man. No guests, no witnesses, just the two of them and a wooden cross behind them. Underneath the photo it said, "Just married. Thanks for the quiet week. I used to think I'd fall apart if that day ever came, but I didn't. I just sat still, like it had all already been decided, like I was just flipping over the last card in a rigged game. Then I looked closely at the man in the photo. His face seemed familiar. I grabbed my phone, scrolled through old photos, and there he was, Brandon, Grace's husband. Grace, my old college friend. I went to their wedding 2 years ago, alone because Lena said she was feeling down after getting news about her fertility issues. I didn't know if Brandon and Grace were divorced now, or if Grace, like me, was also just another casualty in an affair that didn't bother asking for permission. I didn't reply right away. I set my phone down on the kitchen counter and poured myself a glass of water. The house was dark, lit only by a faint yellow glow over the sink. I looked out into the backyard. It was raining lightly, each drop tapping the glass, steady, cold, and unmistakably clear. I came back, picked up my phone, and typed a single word. Cool. Sent. Then I gathered all the evidence. The wedding expo flyer, the ring receipt, the hotel bookings, the message. I emailed it all to Ryan, an old friend from college, now a divorce attorney. Subject line, call me tonight, quietly. No need for drama, no need for a scene. She'd already written her ending, thorough, undeniable, beyond saving. I was just the one holding the paperwork. The next morning I woke up earlier than usual, not because I couldn't sleep, but because I knew this day would come. And I'd been preparing for it for a long time. I made coffee, like every morning, stood by the stove, watching the pale Portland light seep through the blinds. There was no screaming in my head, no why circling in my thoughts. Everything felt still. Like the emotional part of me had already been drained weeks ago, and all that remained was a man doing exactly what needed to be done. I opened my laptop, pulled up the folder named Vegas. It held everything. Lena's wedding photo, the engraved ring receipt, the wedding dress fitting email, the flyer for the Vegas Expo. I uploaded one more file, a photo of Grace and Jason's wedding from 2 years ago, pulled from Facebook. I'd been tagged in it. I attended as a guest. In the photo, Jason wore the exact same tuxedo Lena's new husband was wearing in the chapel picture. Then I composed an email to Grace. No dramatic subject line, just, sorry to send you this. No greeting, just the photo of Lena's wedding, attached and sent. Not even 30 minutes later, my phone rang. I picked up. On the other end, uneven breathing. Ethan, what is this? I heard a door close quietly in the background, someone stepping out of a room. I pictured Grace, walking away from her toddler, standing still in her kitchen, phone trembling in hand. I didn't answer right away. Then I said simply, Lena sent me that photo, with the message, just married. There was a long silence. Then softly she said, I don't understand. Jason and I were never separated. We still live together. He posted a video of our daughter learning to walk last week. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. I understand, I said. If you need anything, I'll send it. No threats, no heat, just two people standing in the wreckage of something they didn't break, trying not to fall with it. I hung up and got to work. I logged into our bank account, selected the joint account, clicked Pause Transactions. In the reason box, I typed Suspicious Usage, Marital Issue. I removed Lena's access, locked the supplementary card, redirected every bill in her name to my email. I didn't leave anything behind. Next, I called the bank's support line, confirmed that every auto payment was canceled. She wouldn't be paying for hotels or fine dining with someone else on my dime. That afternoon, I called a locksmith I knew. The front door, back door, garage, all locks changed. I removed the old garage remote from her keychain, changed the Wi-Fi password, reset the smart lock on the back door. I knew she'd come back, and I wanted her to understand. You don't get to return to a place you chose to walk away from like that. That night, I had dinner alone, a plate of cold salad and half a bottle of red wine. The TV was off. Only the sound of the dishwasher and the soft tapping of rain against the kitchen window. Each little tick struck like a quiet reminder. A right decision made, a step that couldn't be taken back. The next morning, the police called. They said there was a woman standing outside my house, unable to get in. Claimed to be my wife, said she was locked out. I responded politely, as if I had rehearsed it. I'm the sole legal owner. Her name isn't on the deed. There is no criminal dispute. She left voluntarily, and I no longer permit her to enter. They requested a brief meeting to check documents. I brought out the house deed, bank statements, and a letter from my attorney. They reviewed everything, confirmed the situation. No raised voices. No further explanations needed. When they returned to tell Lena, "This is a civil matter. We can't intervene," I stood right there, silent. She looked at me, confused, and asked if I was upset because of the photo. She stood at the entryway, arms crossed, her expression cold, like everything that happened was just some minor social misunderstanding. She said in that half-joking, half-serious tone I once knew so well, "That thing in Vegas? It was just a fake wedding. Those chapels do it for fun. Who takes it seriously?" I said nothing. Didn't frown, didn't shake my head. I simply reached into my coat pocket, took out my phone, and opened the email I'd drafted the night before. A PDF file, stamped and formal. A confirmation letter from the Chapel of Golden Vows. The wedding ceremony between Ms. Lena Caldwell and Mr. Brandon Hale was duly officiated in accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, and in the presence of God. I held the screen out toward her. There was no need to force her to read. The bolded line carried its own weight. Lena's eyes dropped for a brief moment of hesitation. She said nothing more. I thought of the moment she stood beneath that chapel arch, bouquet in hand, eyes on that man, surrounded by candles, the cross, and the question, "Do you take this man?" And then I thought of one simple truth. She made a vow. Before God, before the law, while still being my wife. No one needed to accuse her. She had signed her own guilt into every line she now wanted to erase. 3 days later, my attorney Ryan and I filed the complete case with the Clark County District Attorney's Office. Charge: bigamy, marrying while still legally wed. They responded quickly, case accepted. Investigation opened. I didn't need to scream, didn't need to humiliate her, didn't need to expose anyone online. All I needed was the law, and this time it was on my side. At the end of that month, I was called in by the district attorney's office to provide a statement. The bigamy case had been escalated to the state level due to its connection with a chain of wedding chapels conducting ceremonies without verifying marital status. Lena and Brandon's case was just one of 3 being investigated simultaneously, but their file was the most complete, and I was the only one who had kept evidence from day one. Brandon claimed he thought Grace had already signed the divorce papers. Lena said she didn't know that a Vegas wedding was legally binding, but those defenses only made them seem careless, not victims. 2 months later, Brandon was fired from his company. The case had leaked internally. Major clients pulled contracts. His professional license was temporarily suspended due to ethical violations during the investigation. Grace officially filed for divorce, along with a petition for full custody. As for Lena, she disappeared from Portland. I heard from an old acquaintance that she moved back to her mother's home in Boise. The PR agency she worked for quietly terminated her contract. No scandal, no press release, just a misalignment with company values. Once I received an email from Ryan, forwarded from Lena's attorney. The message was short. Our client wishes to resolve this matter amicably. Attached was an offer. Drop the charges if she signed a no-contest divorce agreement and waived any claim to shared assets. I replied to Ryan, no negotiations, but keep the case open until the legal process is complete. And that's exactly what we did. 3 weeks later, the DA's office officially confirmed Lena would be brought to civil court for falsifying information on a marriage license. No criminal charges, but the record would remain, permanently. I didn't post anything online, didn't talk to anyone except those who needed to know, but I kept a printed copy of the court decision, filed in a private folder. Not for revenge, but as a reminder, Some mistakes can't be erased with a simple apology. I don't know how Lena is living now, but in the last email she ever sent me, no subject, no greeting, there was only one line. I never thought you'd go this far. I stared at that line for a long time, then deleted it. And then one day, while sitting at the old cafe near my office building, the place where I used to pick Lena up after her first team meeting at her new job, I heard an old song playing in the background. Can't Help Falling in Love. Acoustic version. I looked up. Sunlight filtered through the frosted glass, catching the edge of my coffee cup. There was no sadness, no regret, only a kind of emptiness that felt strangely clean. They say you'll feel lighter after the price is paid. I didn't feel lighter, but I felt right. And sometimes right is enough.